according to shocking internal documents obtained by the Associated Press and verified by the New Africa Channel. The World Health Organization paid just $250 each to at least 104 women in Congo who insist they were sexually abused or exploited by the WHO officials working to stop the deadly Ebola outbreak that ravaged the country a few years ago. The abuses, which included 9 allegations of rape, were committed by both national and international workers between 2018 and 2020. This scandal was first exposed in 2020 by the New Humanitarian and the Thomson Reuters Foundation. Following that probe, WHO appointed an independent panel, which verified in 2021 that aid workers from the EU and other charities had sexually abused more than 50 women by demanding sex in exchange for jobs between the 2018 to 2020 Ebola outbreak. 34 new allegations were discovered in late September 2022, and fresh ones have popped up subsequently. Out of that number, 27 said they were abused or exploited by men who said they worked for WHO, 5 accused staff from UNICEF, and 1 each accused workers from World Vision and the International Committee of the Red Cross. According to Malik Kulivali, a member of WHO's independent panel that conducted investigations, many of the male perpetrators refused to use condoms, and most of the women became pregnant, with some being forced to later abort by their abusers. When the panel's report came out, WHO Africa Regional Director Matshidiso Moeti apologized to those who suffered because of the actions of our staff. She said she was humbled, horrified, and heartbroken by the inquiry's findings. This is the biggest known sex scandal in the UN Health Agency's history, and yet the organization has paid just $250 each to the roughly 104 women in Congo who say they were sexually abused or exploited by officials working to stop Ebola. For context, that amount per victim is less than a single day's expenses for some United Nations officers stationed in the Congolese. The fact that these paltry compensations didn't come freely is even more damning for the WHO. To obtain the money, the women had to complete training courses designed to help them begin income-generating activities. As such, the payments appear to be an attempt to get around the United Nations stated policy of not paying reparations by including the money in what it terms a complete package of help. What's more, many Congolese women who have been sexually abused have gotten no compensation. In a classified paper released last month, WHO claimed that roughly a dozen women declined its offer, and almost 1/3 of the confirmed victims were impossible to locate. Consequently, the total of $26,000 that WHO has provided to the victims so far equals just about 1% of the $2 million WHO created Survivor Assistance Fund for victims of sexual misconduct, primarily in Congo. Paula Donovan, co-director of the Code Blue Movement and Impunity for Sexual Misconduct in the United Nations, called WHO payments to victims of sexual abuse and exploitation perverse. It's not unheard of for the UN to give people seed money so they can boost their livelihoods, but to mesh that with compensation for a sexual assault or a crime that results in the birth of a baby is unthinkable, she said. Requiring the women to attend training before receiving the cash set uncomfortable conditions for victims of wrongdoing seeking help, Donovan added. The revelations of the World Health Organization's grossly inadequate compensation to over 100 Congolese women who were sexually abused or exploited by its aid workers during the Ebola outbreak are both shocking and reprehensible. The mere $250 paid to each victim, coupled with the requirement for them to undergo training before receiving this paltry sum, is a disgraceful attempt to circumvent the United Nations policy on reparations. This scandal underscores a disturbing lack of accountability within the WHO and highlights the organization's failure to prioritize the well-being of those it claims to serve. Such actions contribute to a growing skepticism among Africans regarding the intentions of aid organizations in their countries, as reports of exploitation and harm perpetrated by supposed benefactors tarnish the reputation of these entities. The heinous nature of the sexual abuse and exploitation, including instances of rape and forced abortions, perpetrated by WHO officials entrusted with combating a deadly epidemic in the Democratic Republic of Congo, is an affront to the principles of humanity and the trust placed in international aid agencies. The meager compensation not only reflects a callous disregard for the victim's suffering, but also sends a disturbing message about the WHO's commitment to addressing sexual misconduct within its ranks. African nations must remain vigilant and skeptical of purported aid workers, as incidents like these exemplify a pattern where exploitation takes precedence over assistance. It is crucial for African nations to scrutinize the actions of aid organizations operating within their borders, demanding transparency and accountability to prevent further abuses and ensure that genuine aid reaches those in need. What do you make of the WHO being exposed for paying just $250 each to victims of sexual abuses committed by their aid workers in the DRC? Share your thoughts in the comments section below, and as always, do subscribe to the New Africa channel for more interesting future videos.